You're listening to the Warlord Radio Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Warlord Radio Podcast.
Welcome back.
We are Gregory.
And Carrick.
Yes. That was bad. I think I'm going to try that again.
We'll stick with it. We won't subject people to that twice.
All right, fair enough. With us is one of our favorite guests tonight. Returning for his second time is Dr. Paul Bones.
He's our first returning guest.
He is our first returning guest, and he will probably be back a lot. See, we bring in Paul when no one else will talk to us because Paul has...
Way to make a girl feel special.
Yeah, untrue. We brought him back because he did a great job last time.
That's true. Actually, I was
probably both.
I was listening back, and that was, in my opinion, like one of the more fun episodes we did. So I'm happy to continue the conversation.
Yeah, and there's a lot that we didn't cover last time.
Exactly. So, well, like I said, I was thinking about, because Paul has credentials that you don't normally find on heavy metal podcasts, like, a PhD.
Right.
And
an education.
So, it's an interesting perspective. And, so there's so many different subjects we could cover. And, like, I thought maybe we'd do metal as a subculture. Maybe we do...
I do want to do that sometime.
We will do that.
We might do it tonight.
Also, yeah. Paul and I are very big wrestling fans. It would be cool to do a wrestling episode.
Yeah, there might have to be just like a pure wrestling episode. There might be like two
we gotta
pure
get
wrestling
Jesse
episodes.
Back down. We got to get Jesse back down.
We need
Paul.
to do a full wrestling episode so you guys can... educate me on that.
We'll get Randall Day on.
I don't really know anything, and then we'll bring in Jesse
you
after
wouldn't
that.
really get educated. You'd probably get kind of bored.
Nah. No. I mean, we had one already with Jesse. And
you didn't invite me to the wrestling episode?
He was spur of the moment.
Yes,
he was supposed to come down to do an Oberon episode. And then when he got there, he was like, we're not talking about Oberon at all. I'm only talking about wrestling. And I was like, well, fuck. I guess we're talking about wrestling.
But he also gave you that huge red book.
He did. He
like
gave
the history
me,
of wrestling
like,
or something.
Illustrated encyclopedia of the WWE up until about 2010, I believe.
Well, I don't have that, but I do have Can You Smell What The Rock Is Cooking, the WWF cookbook.
Ooh.
Nice. I also have
Is that a cookbook? Or?
It's a legit cookbook.
Okay.
See, he had this whole gimmick for a while where he did promos about pie. It was a weird thing, and it was
so you at one point could actually smell what the Rock was cooking.
You could legitimately smell, and it smelled like pie.
Well, supposedly all the recipes were all from different wrestlers. Like I think it was Big Boss Man actually had one to maybe eat Big Show's Chihuahua.
No, it was Al Snow's Chihuahua.
Oh, was it? There's
pepper.
definitely a Chihuahua.
You remember the pepper steak?
Yeah, there's a pepper steak recipe.
This is back when people still halfway thought wrestling was real. Okay, I have a really good way to start this podcast off. We're going to talk about metal-ass wrestling storylines for a second.
Okay, there you go.
Attitude Era was a steroid-fueled, cocaine-headed, we can do no wrong, everything makes it onto television era of wrestling. And... this is when people still halfway thought it was real. Like people were the wrestlers were still protecting the business. Uh-huh. Vince McMahon's like, no, it's not fake. You saw him cut himself because he's just badass. It was crazy. And
so when was this era? What
we're talking
frame?
Between about 98 and probably 2002.
I'd say two.
So pretty short, 4 or 5 years.
Pretty short.
They
but
were
it was
really
huge.
important. Goddamn it!
Yeah, but no, it was between that. That was when the whole Monday Night Wars was going on. Because you remember NWO shirts and Austin 316 shirts.
Yes.
Okay. The Austin 316 shirt is the highest selling T-shirt design of all time. It beat out the Have a Nice Day smiley face.
Nice.
Which is crazy to think about, but it's really what rocketed professional wrestling into straight up mainstream culture. Because it's kind of what it was the Generation X answer to Hulk Hogan, take your vitamins and drink your milk, and and then you had,
but also with a redneck.
But yes, very good. Yeah, there were a lot of rednecks, a lot of beer chugging. But anyway, my point was in the Attitude Era, because they were fighting for ratings against WCW, everybody just kept raising the bar to fucking ridiculous heights. At one point they blew up Vince McMahon, and the storyline with Vince McMahon was just dead.
But they had to stop that because 9/11 happened, and they're like, this
is a terrorist didn't actually blow up Vince McMahon.
This is tone deaf now. My favorite was when they had Hulk Hogan versus I guess he was just the Giant then in WCW, where
Back when
there
it was the big show.
Yeah, to set up a monster truck battle between the two of them. He ended up Hulk Hogan threw the Giant off of a building and into like the Chesapeake Bay.
Yes. There was a lot
And
of that.
then, to be fair, he showed back up and wrestled him later. He was fine.
So anyway,
so no one worries.
during
Right.
the Attitude Era in the WWF, they had the hardcore division, right? Which is kind of where Mick Foley comes from. And I know you're like, you got to be at least semi.
Well, yeah, you talked about it before.
Yeah.
So he was
The guy's insane.
He had a few characters. He had Mankind,
Yes.
right? And then what were the other ones?
Mick
Cactus
Foley
Jack.
and Cactus Jack.
and Dude,
Dude
Love.
Love.
And Dude Love.
Although I'd prefer we not speak of Dude Love.
I still love Dude Love.
Wasn't Dude Love Jesse's favorite wrestler of all
that's his
time?
favorite wrestler of all time. And Dude Love was ridiculous. He came out in tie-dye and he was like, "What's up, hep cats and daddy-os?" And like, it was bad. But Mick Foley, the reason I love Mick Foley is that guy destroyed his body to make kids happy.
Right?
And I respect him for that. And his book is great. But anyway, so he had a friend in the hardcore division. This guy's name was Al Snow. And his whole gimmick was that he was just fucking batshit crazy. And for a while, he used to
And
carry
fellatio.
around... And fellatio, yes. Because he had this fucking... For a while, he had this mannequin head he carried around with him.
Named Head.
Named Head.
That would have Head written on top of it.
And then,
Okay.
like, so when they play his music...
Just be sure.
Yeah,
This
we
is
can't do
another
subtlety
thing.
here.
Yeah.
The Attitude Era theme songs... I could do a whole episode
I was going to say
just
that
on
would actually
those.
be a good idea.
But his like Al Snow's whole thing to get the fellatio joke across is his theme song, like his music would hit. It was like, "What does everybody want? Head. What does everybody need? Head." And so like, and it was just a blowjob joke forever. So eventually, okay, at some point, Big Boss Man steals Head and destroys Head, and Al Snow has a complete mental breakdown and finds solace with a tiny chihuahua named Pepper. And at some point in their feud, and I want you to keep in mind, this is a generation where people still believed this shit was like halfway real.
Right.
You didn't. You're just
To get
you were young.
heat. No, I mean, yeah, but I mean, no, because I mean, there was dumbass rednecks that are like, what? No, fucking Hulk Hogan totally leg dropped the shit out of that guy. That was real. I've experienced that. But anyway,
Okay.
in one of and you remember the heel is the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
And a heel's job is to generate heat from the crowd. He's supposed to piss everybody off.
Right.
In one of the ballsiest heel moves I've ever seen to get heat, Big Boss Man supposedly killed and cooked this chihuahua and then fucking fed it to Al Snow.
And this is years before South Park.
Right.
Years.
So that's where they got the idea, right?
This is before WWE.
Well, Titus
yeah.
Andronicus, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
well, I mean, you know, you got to feed somebody human pies.
Right.
We've
Yeah.
proven that throughout human history.
yeah.
So, but I mean, yeah, just like one day we'll do an Attitude Era episode where because that shit was so fucking crazy.
So who was the most metal wrestler of Attitude? Or
Definitely
ever,
the
whenever?
Undertaker. This
Undertaker.
is the Undertaker at his prime when he had like the fucking goatee. He was super roided out, so he was jacked as fuck. He also ran around with these two dudes called. He had this whole stable called the Ministry of Darkness, and it had this like 500-pound dude named who used to be called King Mabel, and they started calling him Viscera. And he was totally goth, and he fought in what seemed like a giant trash bag, right?
A giant trash bag.
It
Yeah.
was a giant trash bag. That was, yeah. And then he had the Acolytes, which were a guy named, well, at the time it was Bradshaw. Everybody that's a wrestling fan that's newer would know him as JBL. And then another guy named Ron Simmons who used to go under the name
Damn.
Farouk. Yeah, damn. So,
Basically the only thing he would say.
yeah, pretty much. Ron Simmons not great on the mic, but I mean these guys would come out with like full on weird ass sigils drawn on their.
You forgot
chests,
about
and it
Midian.
was- I did not forget about Midian. I neglected to bring up Midian because at some point they didn't know what to do with Midian. So his gimmick was he was now naked Midian,
Oh.
and he came out and fought people in a thong, and his balls fell out every time, every time. We're talking UPN 7:30, and I'm looking at this fucking redneck's balls just a flapping in the breeze, man.
That's an effective fighting technique because I would definitely tap out
Yeah,
if some
it's
dude's
totally-
balls were just like slapping
Oh, yeah.
against me.
But
Totally.
actually, if we're going to talk Attitude Era and you're going to talk most metal wrestler, it's got to be Sting, right?
I would actually go. I'd go someone different from WCW. I would actually go with Vampiro. I know he was
Vampiro,
paired
yeah.
with the Misfits and everything, but the look of the character and everything was just straight fucking metal.
And you also had Raven. I was a big Raven fan, and what Raven was ridiculous. He was like this grungy bitch. Like that was his whole gimmick, and he was so good at it. But he was
He
just
would
like,
taunt you by sulking in the corner.
yeah, no, seriously. And he'd be like, "What about me?"
So he was an emo wrestler, is what you're
Totally,
saying?
but he was so
Precursor
grungy and
to emo,
nasty. But
yeah.
I mean, like,
Well, his finishing move, because he was grunge, was the even flow DDT. It was like basically a regular DDT.
yeah, exactly. And it really was. It just had a kick in the gut.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, I don't know, 12, and watching this dude come out to the ring in like torn up jeans and a flannel wrapped around his waist and like a Sandman shirt and a leather jacket. And I'm just like, that's what I want to be when I grow up.
Same.
And
There you go.
I did it. Right? So,
Mission accomplished.
thank you, Scott Levy.
Yes.
Have you heard his podcast?
No.
Holy shit. The dude's crazy. He's a member of Mensa.
A professional wrestler. Get
Yeah,
out
his
of here.
name's Raven. But he's a member of Mensa, so he's at this like genius level
I
of
mistook
intellect.
Mensa and Nambla for a split second. I was
Right.
like,
That's
oh,
exactly what I
well.
did. The same
Yeah,
shit.
different.
No, Mensa's way different,
Yeah.
probably.
All right.
Oh,
We're assuming.
I don't know what they do.
We're in
behind
neither of
closed
those
doors.
camps,
Exactly.
so it's all hearsay.
Yeah, right. Those are the two most unrelatable groups to this podcast.
Right, yes.
Mensa and Nambla. But yeah, he's a member of Mensa, but because he's such a genius, it makes him an absolute spaz in real life. Plus, he has ruined his mind with drugs and alcohol.
There you
All of
go.
a sudden, starting to sound a little bit closer to home.
But he literally, like, I think the first 5 episodes, he asked every guest if they had been watching that show about Oak Island where the dudes are looking for the treasure. You heard about that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I know what you're talking
It's some island in Canada. It was rumored to have been a like kind of a haven for pirates to bury their loot. And these guys have spent a couple $1 million ripping this fucking island apart and have found like, I think, a doubloon. And it's been really sad, honestly. I'm like, I feel if you have a treasure show that's in, or a treasure hunting show that's in its like 5th season, you fucked up. But you're not finding any fucking
Isn't
treasure.
that every Ghost Hunter episode, though?
Yeah, but they're
Ever?
looking for
Yeah.
ghosts.
Yeah, but like they never find one.
But they're always
Not that I've watched them all, but it's like
That's
it's
why
hard.
I at least
It's hard
like-
to keep that ball rolling.
I like
if
to-
you never find it.
I mean,
Parent-
that's kind of generally the feeling I get, though, when I watch American Horror Story, though, where I'm
Right.
like, why is this still going on?
Yes.
Why on earth is this still going on?
Yeah.
American. Okay,
It's
I
beating
like,
a dead horse. Just
Like
drag a
this-
horse out in the middle,
Well,
get a
this
bunch of
season-
switches, and just be banging
This
on it.
season, they completely dropped the horror part. Like, they did not even attempt a simple jump scare. Nothing was scary about it. And, like, most of it was devoted to, like, let's give happy endings, not those kind, but let's give happy endings to characters from past seasons.
Ah.
And I'm like, and then everyone that I know that watches it's like, oh my
I don't-
God, it's like my favorite season ever. It was so good. I'm like, no.
I don't really like happy endings in my horror, to tell you the truth.
No, I don't. I hate it.
I got some spoilers coming up, but so if you, I want to talk about that Haunting of Hill House. Have either of you guys watched that?
Oh, I
yet?
watched it. Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
watch it, yeah.
Okay.
We're not done with it, but
Yeah. So,
God
all right,
damn
we
it.
won't spoil it. We
it's, no, it's
we won't
fine
spoil
because
it.
I don't.
There's
think,
ghosts.
I don't think that Robin will watch it. And
Spoiler alert. But
Okay, well, here's the deal. Like, I really enjoyed that
yeah,
show.
we'll speak in generalities. We're not going to
Spoilers
ruin
don't
anything.
mean
Not-
shit. They don't.
Yeah,
they don't
I mean, I'm not
they
gonna-
don't
That's all right.
affect
We don't want to
anything
ruin
cool.
anything.
any
but-
specific details, but I remember, like, I watched the entire season. I enjoyed the entire season.
Yeah.
There were a couple of legitimate tense moments. I
Yep.
thought the broke neck lady was fucking awesome. I thought the twist.
Well,
with what
broke
the
neck lady, bro. You're spoiling shit. I'm just kidding.
No, have
I'm
you-
just
have
kidding.
you- do you know who
I'm
the
kidding.
broken neck lady is?
I'm kidding. It's okay.
I mean, if he's
Because that
watching
scene was
episode
so
1,
fucking
then yes,
cool.
But who it was.
Okay, so this is what happened. Sorry. All right, the girl that committed suicide. She
one at
was
the beginning.
plagued with the broke neck lady all the time, right? Okay, she hangs herself in the house, falls all the way through her entire life. Turns out she fucking is the broke neck lady.
Yeah, she's been haunting herself while falling through time. That's
Yeah,
fucking
she has
dark.
been
I
trying
love it.
to warn herself this entire fucking time,
Right.
and has been like systematically torturing herself her entire life.
Yep.
So I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, that's awesome. I thought that the backward headed fucking bowler cap guy was cool. As a former addict, that whole storyline kind of bugged the shit out of me. But hey, I mean, that's what the horror's supposed to do. But I loved also Carla Gugino, can we just take a second? Because, man,
All right, that's enough time.
no, we're all either married here or in serious relationships, and there's always like a 5 celebrity list of people that you're allowed to try.
There's
and
usually
hook
a
up with.
one celebrity list.
I have 5. I'm optimistic.
Carrick has sub lists.
I have 5, but like I got married like 11 years ago, so I don't even know who's on it, and it's probably like Lindsay Lohan, and would
it can
not
change,
want to do
bro.
that at all anymore.
No, it can change because I mean, at one point, Ozzy said, "What is it? Her name? Ozzy Argento."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not so much anymore. It has nothing to do with her physically. It's just I know more about her as a person. I'm just not that into it anymore.
There you go.
But Carla Gugino's on that list. Anyway, the whole show was really good. I very much enjoyed The Haunting of Hill House
Same.
right
Same.
up until the last fucking episode. And then they had the big old happy ending. And I was like, fuck this.
Well,
this
I
is
don't-
bullshit.
But I can't discuss without giving away a spoiler, and I don't want to do that. But
I just dropped the broken neck lady bomb.
I think I'm
I-
going to give
I-
us I'm going to give us. Did anyone watch Sharp Objects on HBO? That was not a horror story, but it was like a procedural crime. Like it kind of seemed like it could have come from like True Detective.
okay.
But it ended up, the spoiler for that, it all ended up centering around Munchausen's by proxy.
Okay.
And so with this one that ended up being like basically Munchausen's, like I think it's weird how like TV shows will kind of do that thing where they're like, oh, well, even though they all came out at the same time, they're like, let's all tackle this issue of like mothers hurting children
Right.
for their own benefit. I think that's really weird how that
Oh, it's
happens.
like there's a weird social wave that just kind of like goes through everything for a while.
Yeah.
Like when The Orphan came out and all of a sudden it was just like 2 summers of creepy ass kids.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand completely what you're
Or like
saying.
the entire Conjuring universe. Oh, no, wait, that's planned by one person. Never mind.
See, I saw a list the other day. They were like, The Conjuring's one of the most terrifying movies. And then I was like, really?
No, I taught sociology of horror this past summer, and like I had in my like lecture slides was like The Conjuring is bullshit and it's lazy and it's boring. First day, I'm like, so what's your favorite horror movies? Like half the class is like, I love The Conjuring. It's the greatest. It's so unique and original. And I'm like, let's get that full sign to the microphone.
Right.
That's, I mean, I enjoyed it as a movie, I guess, but I mean, I wasn't sitting there, like, it didn't do anything amazing. Like, The Witch, which I watched sit between last episode and this episode, and now is one of my favorite fucking movies of all time. I mean, like, that movie really did something for me. I was like, this is a really fantastic fucking movie. And at the end, I was like, good for her.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I love that about that too. We talk about happy endings. Like, I think that's a happy ending. She's like, fuck you, family. You distrusted me. You blame me for everything. While my creepy ass siblings are like in league with the devil or I don't know what.
See,
You know,
there's
I'm
a
going to be a witch.
funny
Fuck you, mom
thing-
and dad. I'm going to be a witch.
There's a funny thing about me and movies like that, because I don't know if I had seen, I mean, I'd seen The Wicker Man the last time we talked, but it had been years.
Right.
And I watched it again.
The good version, right? Not the bear version.
The
right?
No,
original
I don't.
version.
Yeah, I like
right.
the original. I don't like the Nicolas Cage version at all. And that's not even against Nicolas Cage, American Treasure. Nicolas Cage. I just didn't really like his Wicker Man.
No, he's a national treasure.
Yes.
Because he was in National
gonna
Treasure.
steal the Declaration of Independence. Sorry.
That's a horrible Nick Cage,
have you-
by the way.
That is a terrible Nick
I
Cage.
Have you
don't
guys
have a
seen
Nick
Mandy
Cage.
yet? I forget.
Mandy's
No, I
fucking
haven't seen
amazing.
that yet.
You haven't fucking
Mandy-
seen Mandy?
that's- I
It's
was
coming
about
out
to
on
ask.
Shutter soon. That's all
I
I
was
know.
blown away.
I spent the
By
$4 on Amazon. Fucking do it.
I have,
it,
I have
$4.
good,
It was
I have
like
good friends
20.
that I respect their opinion. Both Matt and then Jay from the Corpse Paint Show, and they hated it.
They don't
and
like
I'm
it?
like, you're fucking crazy. That was amazing.
Did they
like,
bitch?
I loved it.
Did they beef on the soundtrack? Because I beefed on the soundtrack a little bit. I was like, this
really?
movie's
Why?
supposed to, because it's supposed to be metal as fuck. And the
No,
soundtrack's
but
not
it is.
metal at all.
No, but it is in a different way. Like it's not metal in the sense of like open to close. There's like thrash metal playing.
That's what I wanted, Craig.
But it opens with a Captain Beefheart song,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
It's got this overall tone of like a Swedish death metal album.
It really does.
But it just, as it slowly unfolds, and I think a lot of the complaints that I hear is that, well, it's slow going. Well, yeah, but it's building. So basically, is
And
the
then the
first half
payoff's
of it is
huge.
build up, and then the second half is payoff. I am totally fine with that because I like movies that have like really extensive atmosphere and stuff
And
like
coke
that. So,
demons with knife dicks.
right?
Atmosphere is what I prefer to the coke demons with knife dicks. Like
has
that's
both,
my
Paul.
jam. It's
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
I know it's a treasure, and Nick Cage does an amazing job in that movie. Like,
He
no
really
bullshit,
does.
it's not campy at all. I mean, it kind of is, but
Although if you
he
think
does
about
a great
it,
job.
he has very little dialogue. It's mostly acting.
Yeah.
And when Nicolas Cage feels like acting, he actually does it very well. But he does a lot of movies where he doesn't give a fuck about acting, and those are the funny ones.
Right?
well, have any of you seen Sweet Sweet Lonely Girl?
No.
Okay, I think it's like 2015, 12, or 9. I can't remember what. It was billed as sort of like someone in the now trying to recreate a 1970s horror movie.
Okay.
And it was one of those movies that was like, nice, slow burn leading up to it is more of like a love story of, a young lesbian in a rural town in the 1980s or 70s. It was ambiguous. And then it got down, it was like slow burn, and then it got to like the last 20 minutes, and they just decided to like throw everything out the fucking window. Like, so one of the things I like about horror movies is when I watch it and then I'm like, I don't exactly understand what that meant. So let me go and look and like Google it and see what happened.
Right.
This is one of the only ones I've found with like a completely batshit ending that like there's like no discussion of online. It was like there's like one person's like, here's my theory. Everyone else is like, yeah, no, fuck that movie. It sucked.
totally
It didn't
over.
make any sense. They just did a weird plot
I
twist
did
for no
that.
reason.
I watched Mother because, like, I knew
I haven't seen that one yet, but
I
I'm
knew
interested.
I knew women in my
Have
life.
you read the Bible?
Yes.
You've seen the movie.
Okay.
I know women that I respect and love. These are very intelligent women with and some of them are even like film majors and shit. So I usually respect their opinion. These women came back from this movie in tears, like that was so validating. And I watched it and I was like, what the and then so I did the thing.
The
where-
one with Jennifer Lawrence?
yeah, I didn't
Really?
get it either, dude. And so I watched the movie, and I was like, okay, maybe this is just something that's going over my head. And then I read
So validating.
I went online. Validating is just like the way society treats a woman, I think. It was kind of where she was going with it.
Oh.
Which, I mean, if you think in a biblical sense, I guess so. I mean, that's kind of true. But it just, man, when I read the actual meaning of it, like I went online because it was kind of over my head. So
No, it literally was the Bible, though.
yeah, I know. I didn't
literally was the Bible.
I didn't pick up on that.
Older, or
Yeah.
I'm assuming Old Testament.
Old
right?
Testament, yeah.
Yeah, very
Well,
much
and
so.
it kind of goes old through new, and yeah, it like I remember when it came out, like I waited to see it, and then I remember seeing some stuff
I
posted online.
smoke pot, Paul. I didn't catch that it was from the Bible.
Well, I remember seeing some people that are like, "Oh, here are all the biblical references in the movie," and I was like, "Oh, cool! I love shit that like interacts with the Bible. Like that's part of why I love like what was it? As above, so below.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
man, that movie!
I
so
loved
fucking
that
good.
movie, and I
Yeah.
loved all the stuff with like Dante and the Bible and all that stuff. So I was
Right.
like, "Cool! I'm really looking forward to this like head twisty, symbolic like." Aronofsky approach to something that may have something to do with the Bible, and then I watch it and I'm like, "This is literally the Bible. This is literally
Yeah, and
this
it
is
was
literally
like-
this
And
is
he already
literally
did-
the Bible."
And he
Like-
really nitpicked all of like the really shitty parts. Like he did not balance it out with any of the like decent.
Didn't
stuff.
he do a biblical story before that?
Really? He just ruins kids'
No,
childhoods.
like yeah, because
What was the one with
I
Hugh
normally
Jackman?
Noah.
Oh God,
Oh,
I forgot
bro.
about that.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
that either.
Okay.
Don't.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
I'm just not normally
hold
big on biblical stuff. And
if you don't think of it as Noah and you just think of it as axe wielding boat Russell Crowe, it's actually a really fun movie.
Fair point.
It was the same with like, did you ever see 10,000 BC or whatever with all the cavemen and shit?
No.
Okay, well, the deal is with that one, because a lot of people were really mad. They were like, this isn't historically accurate, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, mammoths probably didn't help build the pyramids. What do you want from this movie?
Right.
But all they would have had to do to make that movie so much better was just be like, in another time, in another universe. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm
It's
totally
a
on
fantasy
board.
story now. It's cool.
Exactly.
yeah.
I sat through all the Scorpion King movies, and we're sitting here talking like I'm some big film critic.
Oh.
No. It's all good.
No, second date with my wife, we rented the Scorpion 1 and 2 and possibly 3. I don't know.
Was that
Oh,
by
wow.
the time she just got bored and jumped your bones because she was like, I am tired of watching Scorpion King movies?
Yes, and she was the one who picked them, I believe. That was not a me. I would not have been pushing Scorpion King. I'm not like, hello, second date lady. Let's watch some Brendan Fraser.
I have this picture because I know Bradlin. She's a very, very lovely person. But I have her picture just like halfway through Scorpion King 2. She's like, oh my God, if I don't blow this guy, I have to watch the rest of Scorpion King 3.
On VHS. I feel I should add that as well. On VHS.
We are old kids. I remember blowing into game cartridges.
Okay, I thought that was going to go somewhere else. But I remember watching Scorpion King 2 and having to blow the next guy, guy next to me.
I liked the Scorpion King movies. I waited until after.
Wait your turn.
So that brings us full circle into like some. Let's talk about just really shitty B movies because there are tons of them. Not only in the horror genre, in the action genre, in the science fiction genre. I'm pretty sure I saw a drag queen musical that was pretty bad. Drag queen musicals are usually pretty good. You have a high bar, ladies. I'm sorry. Like,
I just hate
game
musicals.
This is 2018. You hate everything, Paul. Let's talk about
Yes.
what you hate, especially. Continue.
A chorus line.
That's not even a B movie. You just hate Broadway classics.
Yes.
Did you ever see Cabaret? Fuck Cabaret.
There you go.
I didn't see Cabaret, but fuck Cabaret probably.
Yeah.
You fucking Philistine. There's such good music in these.
Well, speaking of B things, one of the things that I have liked is with, probably going back to the movie Grindhouse, is with the kind of rebirth of the idea of Grindhouse. Did anyone ever see Death Race, the TV show for
I have
Spike
seen all
TV?
of the Death Race, everything.
The TV show
Yes.
on Spike TV.
I have seen all of the Death Race, everything.
All of the Death Race, everything. All right, I just had to make
Death
sure.
Race is in the title. He has
Death
it.
Race is the shit. Frankenstein is the man. I love Death Race.
I like the original Roger Corman movie. That's the only one I've seen.
I actually haven't seen.
Favorite part of that movie is when David Carradine just does that one, like he unzips his whole jumpsuit in one slow, and he's just wearing
Yes.
a Speedo. I laughed harder. There are comedy specials that people sunk millions of dollars into that did
Not nearly as good as that.
did
yeah.
not make me laugh as hard as David Carradine just being like, "Zip, what's up?"
I have to say, I've never seen any of the movies. I just ended up watching.
They're amazing if you're into like the weird like trauma.
Roger Corman. I know what you're talking
exactly.
about.
Yeah, it's Roger Corman. It's like Hunger Games tried to do it. They did not do it well, in my opinion.
I don't think Hunger Games tried to do Roger
No,
Corman.
what they tried to do was the over-the-top like media coverage of horrible shit, which was kind of a trope in a lot of those kinds of movies. Where it's like they've totally normalized it. It's basically like that Coliseum mentality.
Well, the thing that I hated about the Hunger Games was like they tried to do what you were basically just talking about of like on another world. See, we're Pan Am. We have districts. We have tracker jackers. Like everything was like something that someone who was super high thought sounded like a cool, clever name. Like thinking back to myself in a basement at 13 was like, what if they had these like wasps that like really, really hurt people, but they weren't called wasps. They're like tracker jackers. Yeah.
The Hunger Games is the most boring series of movies about murdering children. Like just in that whole genre of child murder, it's the worst. Like if you're gonna watch Hunger, just watch Battle Royale.
Yeah, it's the same story.
And it's way better.
Oh yeah, Battle Royale. It's way better.
I will just say I'm so glad you made that comment now instead of after I've had a couple more beers because I probably could have found a way to be pretty offensive with that.
Oh,
Fine with that. This
Go
is
for it.
radio. We don't
I'm
give
not
a
going
shit.
for that.
Yeah, go for it.
You're the one with
not
the
yet.
career on the line.
Exactly. I was like, no, we will not say that. We will
No.
not talk about a beloved Steven Spielberg movie. I think it was Steven Spielberg.
Which movie?
I'll
No,
tell
you
guys.
already
Dude,
know.
now I'm
You
curious.
open this box up. This is on
Now,
you, buddy.
yeah.
Nope. That is too far.
Now my curiosity is burning, and I'm
Are you
like,
talking about The Quest? Was it The Quest where the fucking tractor tried to eat Elliot?
Yes.
What?
Anyway, changing notes.
I've seen some really obscure shit.
Okay.
So one thing I do like that has been happening probably in the last...
Oh, wait, let me finish. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So what I liked about the TV show
Death Race, yes.
of Death Race was like they took like a different genre every episode.
Okay.
And it wasn't like American Horror Story where it was like, we're going to put you in this situation, ignore all the tropes. Like every time though, they're like, here are mutant zombies, here are whatever. Like I liked that whole aspect of it. They did B pretty well because they like really embraced what made B, and like they innovated with it a little bit, but they kept it mainly like on track with it.
What
I
was
like that.
interesting is how they maintained like an overall story arc and still introduced almost this like monster of the week quality to it.
Yeah, exactly that. And now they had someone that looked like Dave Navarro but was not.
He did look so much like Dave
So much
Navarro.
like Dave Navarro.
I will totally give you that. But yeah, I did watch that. And then but there was a time, and they've been doing this lately, and like I said, about the last 10 years or so, where they will take these really horrible B movies and either remake them or make something completely original, but in that specific B style. And some movies do it very, very, very well.
Such as, give an example.
Turbo Kid.
Turbo
Kid was fucking awesome.
Turbo Kid, watch it on
There we go.
Netflix. It is an 80s kid.
It's an 80s movie made in like 2016.
Yeah, but they just nail it. And it's about a kid. He lives post-apocalyptically. He rides his bicycle around.
Is it a BMX bike?
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Better
And well, he's
So I'm
patterned.
not watching it if it's not.
He's patterned himself.
It's no Huffy.
Yeah. But he's patterned himself off of this superhero who a couple of comic books he's found of the guy. And then he fucking like some things lead, he ends up with some advanced technology and has to end up fighting this whole warlord tribe. But they nail the 80s aspect of it. They nail the cheesiness of it. Rutger Hauer's the fucking bad guy, which is amazing. And I mean, it just that movie was done so well to hit that genre, and they hit it on all cylinders. There's also the exact opposite of that is the Dean Cain version of Rollerball. Did you ever see the Dean Cain version of Rollerball starring LL Cool J and Dean Cain?
No, I wasn't that stupid of a kid.
I skipped that one.
Dude,
I've seen the original.
I know exactly what you're
It's
talking
so
about. It was
fucking
like,
dumb.
no, we're not
It's
doing this.
so bad. And it was like, we're talking like Lois and Clark era Dean Cain, and he's like, I'm hot. You're like, yeah, but you're like 5'2". So, and LL Cool J's got a 14 pack, so you really have some work to do. If you want to be the heartthrob in this flick, you need to step your shit up, Dean Cain.
Stand on a box or something.
One of the things I wonder is what is actually going to happen to B movies in the future, though. So, like, you look at like the new horror slated to come out. You've got remakes of literally everything Stephen King has ever done, like
Right.
the good, the bad, the I didn't know that he did this shit.
Right.
Apparently, we're remaking Child's Play now. We're going to probably be making more Halloweens.
We don't need to do
All
that
of this stuff. We're
anymore.
getting in another one of those reboot cycles. And like one of the only benefits that you can have, and one of the things that I see with these remakes, at least from the trailers, is all right, so we're gonna cut out some of the slapstick stuff. We're gonna make it like Conjuring creepy, and we're gonna ramp up production value. So I'm like, but part of what made Child's Play so great was that it was kind of fucking stupid.
I
Right.
will almost always. First off, I'm going to say this.
Like the voodoo in the store scene. Like
yeah.
last time
That's
I watched it, I was
hilarious.
just like, oh, this is terrible.
I'm going to say two things. One, the more CG they put into this Child's Play reboot, the more that movie's going to suffer.
Yeah.
I will also say that in horror movies, 90% of the time, practical effects will trump any kind of computer-generated effect.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It just looks more visceral. It looks more real.
Well, that's why
think
horror, like in the early 2000s, kind of sucked because, like, all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, we have CGI. We can just put blood everywhere. We can make ghosts, demons, monsters, no problem." And then you watch it. Well, you watched it then, even you're like, "That looks fake as hell and
I want you
terrible."
to think
Right.
about, for me, one of the most gnarly like injuries I've ever seen anybody incur in a horror movie is in the first Evil Dead. When he jams that fucking pencil in his ankle.
right. In her ankle.
In her ankle, I'm sorry. Yeah, when the pencil gets jabbed in the ankle, and to this day, I'm just like, I really hope nobody ever does that to me.
Yes.
That or the original Night of the Living Dead. There's a scene where there's like a piece of wood hanging out, and like a zombie grabs the dude's
That
head.
was
and,
zombie.
like,
That was zombie.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah,
that shit
that
is
is-
tense.
That
Yes.
shit still fucks with me. Yeah.
Fulci has a number of those scenes. The dude that gets the drill bit through the head in City of the Living Dead.
Yep.
There's a couple of different ones in Zombie, and then my favorite, The Beyond, just has a number.
Was that
of
the one
just
with the
classic-
portal from hell in the
Yes.
church?
Yeah.
Well, it's not the church; it's the hotel in the bayou. Is sitting on one of the seven
No.
gates of hell.
Okay, I'm thinking of a Carpenter, one of his
The
Apocalypse
the
trilogies.
Prince of Darkness.
Yes. Okay,
Oh,
that's what I was thinking of.
That's a great movie. I love that. It's very underrated, but it's excellent, and it has Alice Cooper.
Some of it made no goddamn sense, though.
That's all right.
I don't always need my
It-
horror movies to make absolute sense.
Yeah, you know,
as
to
long
me,
as,
like the thing of it, at least to me, is movies are kind of like lucid dreaming.
Yes.
Is that I don't think that any movie really makes perfect sense. Like in a movie, like realism is just a style. Like, because no movie is no more realistic. Like Lord of the Rings is no more fake than like Malcolm X or JFK. Because like those are
because of
actors.
the Eagles.
Those guys.
bold
That's a bold statement.
Well,
yeah.
sure, because they're doing take after take after take. They can manipulate any aspect of that movie, and those actors are in trailers. Like nobody's dying, right?
Yeah.
They're all getting paid millions of dollars to be there. They can make it seem however they want it to seem. Now, it resembles our daily life more closely, absolutely, but that doesn't make it real.
But I still want it
agree.
to make logical sense. So let's talk real quickly about High Tension. Part of the New French Extreme.
Right.
Something that you recommended. So in that movie, you have what you think is, this crazed French psychopath stalking a family, particularly one girl in the French countryside, and then they do the like shock ending where, oh no, the girl that you think has been hunted by this person is that person. My big question with all that is like the movie starts where basically you see this guy in his weird like aluminum tin rape van.
Yeah.
Performing fellatio,
With a severed head, yes.
performing fellatio on himself with a severed head.
what movie is this?
You had
High
high
Tension.
tension.
I have not seen this.
See it. Go out and see
I
it.
don't know.
Post haste.
Okay.
Yes.
But the whole thing is that this. So sorry, Carrick. The whole thing though is that this self-fellating severed head countryside ravaging guy is actually the girl that he's hunting. Who she's hunting, and they're staying at the girl that she's in love with's rural house that she's never been to.
Right. Yeah,
But I'm
it's
like,
completely nonsensical.
But I'm like, how does she have a tinfoil rape van or a tin shed rape van? And where did the heads come from? And what is going on? Why are these the same people?
Sure, and that's very valid. My only answer to that would be like is that if it's from her point of view and she's had a psychotic break, we don't know that any of that actually existed other than inside her own mind. So it's kind of like Suspiria by Argento.
Or
That-
Oculus fucked with me that way.
That
I had a
doesn't
hard time
exist in any kind of realistic plane, because if you just sit there and try to dissect it, you're like, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I would do this differently.
Yeah,
but it's kind of the intangibility of having a nightmare. If I tried to describe the most intense nightmare I've ever had to you, you're like, okay. But to
But
me,
the tin
it was
rape-
terrifying.
But the tin rape van was like so iconic in that movie and such a
Right.
big part. Like it bugged me that once we figured out who she was and when she went back to being the psychopath, like it kind of bugged me that the appearance of her went back to the crazy old man. I get that dream, nightmare, what have you, perception, but I'm like, this fucking van though, and how she knew the area and like apparently had been abducting people there already. None of this makes sense to me.
But did she? Like,
okay, well, I semi agree with you, Craig, on that. It doesn't necessarily have to fit, jigsaw style together perfectly all the time. But I also will say that, and you see this in a lot of movies, like esotericism does not make up for lazy ass writing.
Sure, no, of course. But I guess what I'm saying is that, like, if you break it down and you look at it like metal, like a very like common I guess diatribe against metal is that it's simplistic, it's repetitive, is that everything's written in E, and there's some weight to that, right?
Yeah, no.
But there's also like some amazingly complex stuff. But even if you just accept that argument, some of the gnarliest, coolest shit ever is simplistic, written in the key of E.
Look at all of Black Sabbath's
Like there's nothing wrong with that. And I would just say the same thing. Is like, I understand what you're saying. Like, I also will sometimes like turn my head or like just turn off a movie if it crosses some invisible barrier where it's like, well, that's just bullshit. But I think a key to like enjoying any movie or any art at all is that willingness to suspend disbelief and at least meet them like halfway. Now, I think it's their job.
That's why you
to
should
go
start
halfway.
watching pro wrestling, Craig.
Right? Maybe. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just saying I haven't gotten into it yet. So that's my stance on wrestling. I'm not anti-wrestling. I'm just haven't dived in.
To kind of build off of that then, my favorite type of pro wrestling is like the least realistic, least believable.
Yeah.
And it's just because that way, like, once you don't have to tell me the story of Randall K. Orton, who is the son of Cowboy Bob Orton that was in the military, but we don't mention that he was booted for going AWOL. Like,
You're exactly right.
if you can give me Mil Muertes, the man of 1,000 deaths, who survived a giant, deadly, he's the only survivor from his village of a earthquake in Mexico and is now courting death, kind of like Thanos, and has a magical rock. Like, I'm totally into that. 100%.
Like, what about we went to an indie show and there was a dude there and his whole gimp, he's like, I'm a psycho clown. I have a gimp that scares the shit out of kids. I'm like, that's enough information. I don't need more than that.
Well, and that ties into one of my main complaints on like the newer horror movies, right? Is that they give too much fucking backstory.
Yes.
It's like they will beat a dying horse, like trying to explain every little twist and turn, like origin stories. Everybody likes origin stories. I fucking hate origin stories. I don't care. Like what I liked about Star Wars is that boom, it just starts in the middle and goes. Like I didn't like the prequels because it explains too much. It was by the thing about Rob Zombie's Halloween. Like, you don't need to give Michael a backstory and explain exactly why he is who he is. He's just who he is. Just go with it.
I will say that's why I did like the Rob Zombie version of it, though, because at least that was something different. It's like, I'm going to explain it. I would have liked it if he just had been like kids obsessed with masks. Always has been. It's a mask thing. That would have been way better than
better.
Like,
that would have been
also
better.
Has like gets verbally and physically abused and has a collection of animal parts. Like I could have gone without all that, but I'm like, okay, this mask thing is really what drives him. Okay,
what kind of started that was, do you remember that movie, The Cell? That came out.
Yeah.
The whole movie was about the origin story of this serial killer. In fact, like the killings that he was doing were like almost secondary to all.
Well, I mean,
of that.
if you want to go back to origin stories, Psycho.
Yeah.
I mean,
man, I have not seen Psycho in such a long ass time.
Well, and then I think it gets to like Psycho 2 or 3. I think 2 is old. I think
never
3
seen
was
any
when he
of
was
the
a kid.
sequels.
I've seen parts of them on AMC.
2 was when he was a short order cook.
Yeah, so that was afterwards.
Gross.
Because you get out of jail for whatever. So there are some of the times too where I'm like, but why has he been released?
Yeah.
He is psychotic and murdered people.
Oh, if you just want to talk about the American criminal justice system, we can get into that.
I mean, that's literally what I do, but it's literally not what I want to talk about right now. So,
I mean,
it's literally
they
what I
let
do.
people like that out all the time.
Right?
No, they don't.
Right?
I don't know about that. They gave fucking Jeffrey Dahmer one of his kids back. He was making sex zombies in his house, and the cops gave him the dude back after he escaped.
Right?
That's police work in America.
After he escaped, I will have to follow up on that because that doesn't sound right.
No, seriously, he had somebody escape from his apartment with a fucking drill hole in his head.
Oh, but how could they give him his kid back?
No, because the guy was like 17 years old. I said kid because he was raping children.
But how does he get his kid back if he's in prison? Didn't he die in prison?
No, this was before. He didn't even go to prison. He victimized somebody, drilled a hole in their brain, tried to make him a sex zombie. The guy escaped his house, ran into some cops, and the cops gave him back to Jeffrey Dahmer.
Well, that's very different than is found convicted, clearly did all the shit.
I thought you meant
had a
that he
drill
did this
hole in
stuff
his
and then the
head.
cops gave him his child.
Yeah, that's
back,
what I
like
thought
his
too.
son.
No, I meant
Not the kid he was fucking.
I was talking
making a
about the
zombie.
kid he was fucking.
Okay, all right. Now we're on the same page. We're back.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was thinking
We
that
were
too. It's like, I don't
confused.
think any of that happened. I could be wrong, but I don't think that happened.
No, there was an escape sex zombie that was given.
All right,
back to
so
Jeffrey Dahmer.
so back on topic.
Right? What is our topic?
How do you
We're
guys
not
want to not talk about anything else but the fucking escape sex zombie right now?
Because you're getting too excited about it.
Right?
Actually, we need to take a break.
Do we?
Correct. It's about 40 minutes.
Let
in.
me ask this one question.
Yeah,
before we
we're
do.
doing like 5
So
minutes.
when we're talking about the horror genre, what is y'all's take on the fact that nowadays there's like because you're talking about they too much backstory. Like my
Right.
big deal is like you show the fucking monster too much.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the whole reason
Yeah.
Alien
Well,
was
they-
scary was
yeah.
because you saw him once or twice, and when you did, you're like, I don't ever want to see that thing
Dude,
again.
did any of you guys see The Ritual on Netflix?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's really cool because it focuses around these 5 dudes wandering through the woods. They get lost. One of them fucks himself up somehow. I think like breaks his ankle.
Don't they
or some
go
shit.
out because they're like in celebration of another friend who died? And they're
Yeah.
like, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And so they gave a little bit of backstory, but that backstory was really just to build on this one guy's guilt. So it made sense in the context of the movie. And then because I remember the whole movie, I'm like, they're hinting at this monster. If they don't show the monster, that's going to be bullshit. And if they overshow the monster, it's going to be bullshit. And they didn't. It was like you got maybe fucking 7 minutes of that monster in the end of the movie, and the design of the creature was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And it was just totally worth it. Like, I feel if you're going to do, because a creature feature, that's a whole different genre of horror. And if you're going to do a creature feature, there really are only 2 ways of going about it. You don't see much of the creature until like the big reveal, and that's the apex of it. Or you're an asshole and everybody's getting chased around by Pumpkinhead for 2 hours.
I love Pumpkinhead, by the way.
I do too, but it's real super dumb.
I watched
no.
it like a couple
No.
weeks ago. It did
No,
not
you're
hold
wrong.
up that well. Lance Hendrickson, or no, what's his name?
Yeah, he was in Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Pumpkinhead. I think it's a great fairy tale.
Yes, no, it's a
Fairy tale level.
fairy
It's
tale, yeah.
good. It didn't quite age the best though.
Maybe. I mean, most movies don't. I mean, honestly, like movies
Completely
are-
fair.
Like
Jurassic Park did.
yeah.
Well, I like what you're talking about, Carrot, because that's actually like a feature of a lot of like Scandinavian horror films and a lot of like European horror films, because budgets are so much smaller and horror films are so much more rare. Like some of it's just like a budgeting concern where they're like, if we either like basically put like a squirrel on a stick and that's our monster, or we save everything up and just have a couple
And
of glimpses
I
at
like
it.
that because it forces them to build more tension. It forces them to write a more cohesive story. It forces them to really focus on the atmosphere and environment that would either produce or shelter such a creature or whatever. And then at the end, you get that big fucking gnarly payoff where everybody sins, because that's how creature features always work. Nobody's innocent. It's always some bullshit that they all did and they kind of deserve it. Like that's how almost every creature feature works. Going back to the first one, if you're talking like fucking Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, he created that monster. That monster like ultimately destroyed him. In my opinion, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is probably one of the first like creature features on film. But I had a point. Son of a bitch, you keep
I
doing
was gonna
this.
say I have 2 really good points unless we want to take a break.
Go for it.
Go
2
for it.
points.
Fuck, I forgot them.
God damn it.
No, well, one of the things. So, if we originally, I thought we were going to talk about like culture, foreign horror, all that stuff, and
Yeah.
we'll probably get there. Well, one of the things that I really like about foreign horror is because it does bring that like different cultural orientation. Like the stuff that I like the most actually is that like Norwegian, Scandinavian, rural, like folk horror stuff, whether it's like a folk horror monster or it's the people that are supporting it or whatever. One of the things I really like about foreign horror is seeing like what Satan and hell and everything look like in different cultures.
Yeah, I agree. That is really cool.
So that's something that like that's actually kind of like a theme within, especially like if you go back to like those old like forests in Europe. And one of the things that I think that the American horror film genre really lacks is like those old school kind of monsters. Because if you're talking about like something like The Ritual, where you're like talking about forests where people have lived for like thousands of years, these myths and everything, like we don't have those same kind of myths in the U.S. unless they're witches or we have to get them from like native cultures.
We're
like,
a very young civilization.
like our big legends. Like, are you going to watch a horror movie about Paul Bunyan? I mean, I would.
yeah, I
But
totally would. Are you
like a
fucking
lot of
kidding?
our like
Yeah.
a lot of our great American myths are very uplifting. There's no such thing as like
Well,
American
they were
Krampus.
meant to inspire the working class, not warn you from your stupid kid wandering out into the woods and getting eaten by a bear.
Exactly.
That's the fundamental difference between like Slavic and Northern European. It's all how to survive in the fucking woods, and that is don't go to the woods.
Well, that's one of the things I really love about like a lot of more rural European horror, because it really does center in on that. And like the fact that you can be like, so you have a movie like Sinister in America where it's like, there's a thing and he's in film. We don't know. We're lazy. Whatever. Fear him. He will pop up and he makes the lights turn out, and he can only get you when the lights are out. Like, who cares? You bring me something though from like, you know, Eastern Europe or Western Europe, even like rural Europe. It's like, oh, here is this creature that we believe has existed for like thousands of years, and like it's
our
haunted
culture,
generations.
American culture doesn't have that well to draw from yet because we're such a young culture. And like you said, when we do, we usually just like appropriate something from Native American culture and then like totally tell the story wrong completely.
Yeah, the 1980s like abandoned. Well, we watched Night of the Demons the other day, and they just decided to throw everything at that, and they're like, and it's on a Native American burial ground. I'm like, oh, everywhere is, which actually everywhere is, but you know,
This whole place is an Indian burial ground. We're very sorry to the First Nations people. We're on that note. We're going to take a break.
We'll be back.
You're listening to the Warlord Radio Podcast.
They can fuck your dick.
You're going to fucking do that anyway.
There you go.
That's fair.
Yeah, man.
What did you think of my song I sent you the other night? Studs in Love?
That was great.
Fucking horrible.
Yeah, man. I love getting drunk with Paul because I always get gifts in the middle of the night in the form of text.
Well, I ended up, I was on Bandcamp, and I ended up, there's like an album that I wanted, and they're like, get the whole disc. It was like 40 songs or something. It was like a whole thing for a whole label, and they're like, you know, pre-order this for like $25 and you get this. And then they're like, or get the entire discography for this record company for like $29.
Right.
It's 64 albums. I was like,
Doing
well,
that.
mathematically, yeah.
I'd be stupid not to do this.
And so I got like, it sucks. Most of it sucks. And there's like a song by, I think like Digital Leather or something like that called like Studs in Love. And it's just like the most like stupid, like epoxy sounding punk rock with pretty much just the words studs in love, studs in love. Oh, it's, and they're like the YouTube video just has a picture of a Pomeranian, and I don't know why. It's great.
The internet's, man. The internet's.
right.
We rolling?
Yep, we've been rolling.
Oh, we've been
Yeah,
rolling.
we've been rolling since
Welcome.
he said they're gonna fuck your dick.
That's
Yeah,
a good intro.
I watched you hit like record. I was like,
I feel like that should be the intro to every second part of the show.
Fuck your dick.
Welcome to Warlord Radio. Fuck your dick.
Your dick.
I was trying to be like Iron Sheik-ish. I'm not sure if that translated in text form.
Oh my God, if you are out there and you're not following the Iron Sheik on social media, what the fuck are you doing with your life?
I am by proxy because of you.
I was
going to
say you don't have to. Carrick does.
God damn, it's funny though.
It's
He's like,
great.
fuck the Virgil. He needs your $5 for chicken tenders, fucking jabroni. I fucking love this man so much that I got a Funko Pop of him glued to the top of my computer.
Nice.
I love the Iron Sheik. He's
Wait,
amazing.
literally glued?
Did you
Yeah.
love him back when he was wrestling?
No, because he was a horrible heel and he teamed with Nikolai Volkov and they were anti-America. But now I've grown up and I'm sort of anti-America. So
why we're doing both wrestling to start again? But did you follow when Hulk Hogan or when Sergeant Slaughter got turned to Iraq?
Oh yeah, no, are you kidding? That was amazing. That was during Desert Storm because Vince McMahon is a tactless piece of shit. That was why.
awesome, though.
Okay, so recently,
So you're saying there's no subtlety in professional wrestling?
There is no
Shocking.
no, not much,
Shocking.
not much at all. But that was why. Okay, so recently, Roman Reigns, who's like a top guy in the company,
Boo.
just announced that he had leukemia. So way to do, yeah,
Boo. Leukemia.
boo leukemia. But like, there's a point where he's walking up the ramp, and I was like, somebody's gonna beat his ass because Vince McMahon is such a classless piece of shit. He would absolutely use leukemia as a storyline for wrestling.
He did though. He had he waited a week.
true.
He waited a week, and then there were 3 people that are like, Roman Reigns isn't tough enough because he has leukemia. And it's like,
Bro.
no, not cool, man.
How come the Connors kids are heroes and Roman Reigns is a loser.
Well,
They all have the same shit.
my friend and I used to joke about John Cena was powered by his cancer kids because, like, when he was at the Unstoppable era, he'd be like, every time he'd be like, and this is my friend Jimmy. He has cancer. Give it up for Jimmy.
He can't see me either because of the cancer. Wrestling is so tactless very, very, very often. Anyway, so back to horror movies. Have we seen any good ones lately? We talked a little bit about the ones we haven't seen. What have you seen?
Apostle.
Apostle.
I have not seen The Apostle.
Okay.
Check it out, Netflix.
Man, I don't want to give too much away, but that is possibly one of the most fucking metal movies. It's okay.
It's really good. I enjoyed it quite thoroughly.
There's a couple of ideas I have. I want to do a doom metal version, like a soundtrack for Valhalla Rising. Have you ever seen Valhalla Rising?
Love it.
Maybe
It's Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
Okay, I really love that fucking movie.
It's great.
It's like one of those movies where it's like, hey, Carrick, what do you want to see in a movie? I'm like, I want to see a Viking eat the throats out of other Vikings that turn Christian.
Yes.
And it was rad, dude. Have you not seen Valhalla Rising, Jay?
Super brutal.
Okay, yeah, check out Valhalla Rising because I want Diesel Beast to do. I seriously would
Concept
do
album.
totally. I want to do a metal soundtrack to Valhalla Rising.
Is it on one of the streaming services?
I think it's on Netflix.
All right, cool. We'll check it out.
And then the same thing with The Apostle. I want to do, and not even Doom, like. I want to do droney ass Sun O shit.
There you go.
Just for like
40-minute
9
song.
hours, dude. Just that movie was so fucking awesome, dude. Like if you like black robes and medieval torture equipment and witches and
Well, I'm trying to think. What movie was it? Was it The Ritual or was it Dark that had like almost like a, I'm going to mispronounce this, like Heidevolk, like kind of like a ambient, like Viking metal-ish soundtrack to it?
I don't think it was The Ritual. What was the other one you mentioned?
Dark?
I have
the series?
not seen Dark.
Oh, I love Dark. Dark was really great.
But it has like a kind of an ambient Viking metal soundtrack.
Kind of. I mean, more of like chanting Viking metal, not so more Viking.
More
than
pagan.
metal.
More like Wardruna
Pagan, yeah.
or
But it sounds like if you've
Hellflying.
well, it sounds like if you've
Hellflying.
ever listened to like Heidevolk, which again
Yeah.
I'm mispronouncing. Like it sounds like it could be them. It really could be them.
I like that kind of stuff though. It does that weird like Nordic throat singing.
Yeah, yeah. That
I dig that shit.
That's all that. Yeah.
Same.
And it's like it's another one of those. It's a series, but it's like a slow burn, like atmospheric with. I'm not even going to try and do the Norwegian throat singing to punctuate it. Oh, yeah.
That shit's badass. No, it's like if Gregorian chant killed you in the face with a battle axe. That is exactly what that shit sounds like. It is one of
Yes.
the coolest styles of music.
Well, one of the shitty movies I watched to prepare for this thing that we're not talking about foreign horror about at all was a German movie called like The Nightmare, and like I think that at least half of the soundtrack was like Atari Teenage Riot, which is also like a fairly recent movie. It was like 2015, I think. And I was like, "Is this Atari Teenage Riot?"
This is like six,
Yes, this is Atari Teenage Riot. Am I in high school again?
Those crazy Germans.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with a band called Atari Teenage Riot.
Oh,
at all.
it is loud, screamy noise techno.
See, depending on the movie, I could really be into that.
Well, the band though, like what sucked about it, and it started out with like kids listening to like fucking techno music, rave music, Atari Teenage Riot, doing drugs, going to a pool party, and it was like, hey, there are cultural universals. That was me in high school too. This is awesome. And then it turned into like a weird ET thing, and yeah, it's just
It's called Dark.
no. That one is called The Nightmare. Don't watch that
Oh,
one. Watch
don't
Dark
watch
the
The
series though. That's on Netflix. That has no ET or Atari Teenage Riot.
Okay.
Dark was
I
really fucking
recently
good, though.
watched a ghost movie with Charisma Carpenter in it that looked like it was filmed on an iPhone.
Was she naked?
No,
It
and
could
I
have
was
been filmed on
really hoping.
Wait, but it was it was Charisma Carpenter. At first, I thought you said Christina Ricci, but Charisma Carpenter not naked.
Not naked. Yeah, I was.
Did you know she?
bummed too.
So B movies. Where I'm pointing in.
she
did
did
you know?
the fake ass
50 Shades of Grey
movie.
Yeah, that was fucking terrible.
Yeah, Cordelia from Buffy the Vampire Slayer was in like this weird 50 Shades of Grey style, but it was like it took out all of the story and just had the fucking. It was
yes, and she had to dominate her fears or something like stupid like that. Like
yeah, it was.
It's so bad.
It was insane. But Charisma Carpenter is one of those ones where it was like
she's on my list of 5, by the way.
Yeah, she's up there too for me as well. But she was in this movie where she played a psychic medium. And while I love Charisma Carpenter, she's not like the best actress.
No.
I'm at a disadvantage because I don't know who that is.
Did you ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Oh, I love Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
That was like
Angel
one
was
of the
better,
most perfect examples of Monster of the Week.
That's
drama.
literally what I was, yeah.
The first 2 or 3 seasons are outstanding.
The first season is horrible. I disagree.
You're right there because what it does is strike a nostalgia chord for me.
Yeah.
So anybody new coming on, the first season's pretty bad.
Angel was even better though because it was darker.
Angel was good, and Angel was much darker. Angel also went more medieval. It was more historical.
Yeah. And there was an episode where he got turned into a puppet.
That was
the
amazing.
best episode ever.
It was so good. He was, even as a puppet, Angel was a better vampire than Twilight guy.
Yes.
That's a low bar that you're setting there.
Well, he's a puppet. I mean, like, it was a pretty low bar.
Fair point.
No, but the cool thing about Buffy is, like I said, the second and third seasons are like legitimate horror-themed action stories, and they're really good.
There's a few of those episodes like
fleshed out.
The ones with like the gentleman.
The Hush, or Hush was the name of that episode.
That
was
just
an amazing
that standalone, like one of the greatest horror stories I saw from that era.
And then like the 4th and 5th seasons suck ass. Like they're so bad.
Yeah.
But then
The Adam season.
How many seasons are there?
7.
But like, so 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 are like some of the best action-based television of that era, in my opinion.
Well, that show broke so many boundaries, like because it ended up
strong
having
female lead, which did not happen back then.
Sexual minority characters, death, sexual assault. Like it tackled all of them on in a way that Saved by the Bell couldn't. So.
Oh man, could you imagine Zach Morris on Buffy the Vampire just with his giant phone?
I was just thinking Zach Morris in a story about sexual assault. Like,
well,
yeah,
I think they called that Saved by the Bell, right?
Yeah,
they had a whole series about that.
Have you seen any of those internet shorts? The Zach Morris is trash.
Yes.
No,
bro, watch them because.
Did you just bro me?
I broed you hard.
So I watched Zach Morris. You're okay.
It's called Zach Morris is Trash. And what this dude does is break down old Saved by the Bell episodes and basically just like really bring to the forefront the fact that Zach Morris was a piece of shit as a human being. And they're so fucking funny.
They're real short. I think they're on
They're
Amazon
like 3
Prime.
or 4 minutes. They're on Amazon Prime. But there's one that's, I just remember it's like, so Zach tells Screech to go into the girls' locker room and take photos. Yikes. It just fucking kills me. But yeah, the whole Zach Morris is trash. Like, if you were a 90s kid, like, go back and watch it and then think about, like, your entire
childhood.
Not just childhood, but, like, your archetype for a leading man. Like, that everything that you've ever built up in your head of what, like, the handsome heartthrob should be, that shit just completely tears down to nothing. You're like, oh, God, they're all garbage.
I actually had an idea, not a very original one, but I had an idea for, like, a short-form podcast of, like, that didn't age well. Just picking something random from, like, the 90s.
I like that.
80s, 90s. Fuck, you could do it from probably 3 weeks ago and be like, oh, that didn't age well. Like, all of Friends.
Oh man, there's a lot of homophobia on that show.
Yeah,
like a ton of it.
Or like that show garbage back in the day.
I hate. Once the monkey left, I hated it. Like the most talented.
I never watched it, but just the concept of it made me want to fucking puke.
Yeah, my wife loved it for a long time, and
it not my deal. I was more into Napalm Death.
Yeah, but I mean, I was a big metalhead, but I could appreciate a decent sitcom. There was Yes Dear that was created by the same guy that did My Name Is Earl, and that show was very fucking funny. And Tim Conway, do you know who Tim Conway is? He was on the Carol Burnett show. Anyway, if you saw his face, you'd recognize him.
I'm sure I would.
He's one of those like 1970s to early 80s comedians that was like way ahead of the game.
Okay.
He and Harvey Korman they were, the Carol Burnett Show, in my opinion, is what sketch comedy in America was like. It was the same as like Monty Python in Britain. It was on a different level. It was so much better than everything else coming out. Mm-hmm. And Tim Conway was a big part of that, but he played like the wife on that show's dad or some shit. Dude, as a grown man, I have gone back and watched these episodes and almost pissed myself with him just walking on the screen. Like he hasn't even said anything yet. Like the laugh track hasn't even died down, and I'm already laughing. And if you're talking about like classic comedy, some of those sitcoms did age very well. Some of them were really good, and then there were like Friends. Will and Grace is still
again, like going back to basic economics though, or like things making sense. Like Friends never made sense for me because I'm like, you live where and you guys do what and you can afford. Okay, like that was a huge problem in the 90s.
No, that's a big
sitcoms.
deal.
What's a big deal with like I feel like with horror as well. Like I feel like as we've gone further and further into the into like the now, not the future. But like you look at a movie, you brought up Orphan earlier. Like, do you remember The House from that?
I do remember it being sick.
Yeah, it was like amazing. And I think it was like a single income family with like multiple kids. And it was like,
but I mean,
how did
they do that on HGTV? They're like, have you always seen like, like I want a fucking clifftop castle with an ocean view and I'm a stay-at-home astronaut and he sells buttons. Like, and our budget's $1 billion. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's bullshit. But let me just point out this, like, so if you look at like the 1980s horrors, like especially like the rise of the slashers where things were set very much in like middle class neighborhoods. You look at like wherever Laurie Strode lived, or where Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street lived.
That's true. In
like
the 80s,
very,
it was very suburban. It was very relatable.
But now they've gone like the other way. Even this isn't even a spoiler. Like at the end of American Horror Story last night, like there was like 2 kids that got like pregnant at like 20 or something like that.
I stopped watching that show and the circus freaks gangbanged that girl. I was like, I think I'm done with this.
Yeah. Well, because I'm interested in horror and I know that people like this, I want to see it. But like, yeah, every single season I'm like, why did I do this to myself?
I like the Coven season was cool.
No. Everyone died and then got better multiple times. And this season was an extension
That's comic books, dude. What's your problem?
Yeah, but in comic books, they usually let them stay dead for a few years, or at least episodes. Like they die and then come back in the same fucking
Bring it
episode.
Back in a fat annual. Okay. So this is way off topic.
Wait, let me finish my
right, yeah.
But so like in the last episode of American Horror Story, you had like these 2 college kids that ended up getting pregnant, and then like their house like in California like was amazing. They had like French door refrigerators, like all the stuff. Like there's been kind of a push or like in the 80s, they really wanted to market stuff as like, this is you, this could happen to you. Normal, middle class, whatever. That bar's moved so far now, though, where like, you're really hard pressed to see a horror movie that doesn't happen in like, a McMansion or a mansion or something like that.
I feel like that's almost true across the board because Americans are very much, they're tired of seeing what's going on with them. They want to see.
Well, it's like bringing the Kardashians to horror.
Exactly.
Which I hate.
It really is. Like that's a weird way to say it, but you're totally right.
I hate it.
There's a saying, I want to say it's C.S. Lewis. I might be totally wrong, and I might be totally misquoting, but it has something to do with like Americans don't see themselves as an impoverished people, which I mean we're not technically, but I mean like a lot of us are having issues. But we see ourselves culturally as temporarily embarrassed millionaires.
Yes.
And that's a little true.
Well, it speaks to the whole idea of relative deprivation where, I know that there are people, I mean, and this is me as a person, like I know there are people that are struggling to eat out there and I'm like, my garage is too cold for me to do woodwork in right now. I'm depressed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Like
that's
problems.
I need to get a heater for the
My
garage,
yacht
but I
got
can't
capsized.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even stuff that like legitimately sucks, like your car breaks down,
Yeah.
but we have clean water.
Exactly.
So it's not that big a deal.
No, I mean, it is definitely a system of checks and balances, but in entertainment in general, this is why a character like Iron Man works so well now. But if you had tried to put Tony Stark on the big screen in the 90s or something like that.
Or in comic books in the 60s.
Well, no, it worked, though, because he had a defect. That was the whole reason the defect was written in. Everybody, Stan Lee, rest in peace, you beautiful son of a bitch.
Shout out to Stan Lee.
Shout out to Stan Lee.
I'm actually kind of glad he's gone.
What the fuck?
Hot take from Paul.
No. Have you read any of the shit about like what his family was doing to him, where he like basically like didn't have any wherewithal, and like whoever was his guard?
No,
like,
Paul. I just know that the man that created my childhood died, and you said you were cool with it.
I am cool with it. He's not had a good past few years. He's been highly exploited. It's been it should actually be criminal cases.
I don't need to read any of that shit. I just choose to be a true believer. Excelsior. That's all I need out of this man. It is not my job to judge his lifestyle. It is my job to enjoy his.
I'm not
body
judging
of work.
him. I'm judging his shit ass family.
Yeah, but they all do that. I'm going to do it. Are you kidding? If my parents were rich, I would leave. They're not, though.
Yeah, but if they didn't know where the fuck they were, you wouldn't be like, all right, we're doing sightings and just all the money. I'll take
this
all
is
of
going to
that.
sound really horrible, but I mean, if I really just be like, hey, Dad, you don't know where you are. There's some doggy Valium in there. I'm pretty sure I need it. He'd be like, cool. Like, I would exploit that a little bit. I wouldn't do evil with it, but I'd be like, hey, man,
Well,
hash.
for Stanley, some evil was done with him. So
Yeah. Fair enough.
all right. Well, my point
what I meant was I'm glad he's not suffering, not fuck your childhood.
my whole point was the whole reason they gave Iron Man the heart thing was because in the 60s, having a main character that was a millionaire playboy, like people were not going to fucking vibe with that at all.
Well, that's
You know
why he
what I mean?
created Iron Man, was to create a character that shouldn't be liked, but you liked him anyway.
Exactly, but the heart defect, which I think was actually Jack Kirby's idea, was really like the linchpin in that character. It was what brought him down to an equal level with anybody else. You know what I mean? He was
just had $1 billion.
vulnerable. Well, it wasn't like Batman. Okay, people always say Batman doesn't have any superpowers. Infinite money is a fucking superpower. You cannot teach me otherwise. I am sorry.
Yeah, I've seen that meme too, man.
I know it's a meme. I don't care. It's the truth. Infinite money is a superpower. But Batman doesn't have a heart defect. He just has fucking mommy and daddy issues.
And
Some
way too many
separation
boys
anxiety.
that have died.
That's
Like
true.
Dalton Castle, except his boys die.
Man, there's another fucking wrestling reference.
So how do you guys feel about superhero movies? Because I know that's not within the horror realm, but just
I'd
as
like to see
an
a horror
aside,
superhero movie. Apparently, New Mutants is supposed to be that.
I guess.
The Crow?
Yeah. Have you ever met James O'Barr?
Swamp Thing, the original,
The original
which is
was
really
great.
good.
Yeah.
You know they're doing a new, I think it's a show, right?
Yeah, I'm not interested.
think so.
Like,
Really?
like to me, and I realize I'm the minority voice here, so that's cool. So I'm gonna give voice to the haters out there. But I cannot stand the superhero movies that are out right now, or at least let's say in the last like 15 years.
I think it depends. First off,
There have been
like
some good ones,
the
but
deal is like, okay,
there's been
so
a lot of them.
the Marvel movies, I believe, while they're not like all these great hurdles in cinematic advancement, I do believe that they achieve what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be kind of eye and brain candy.
They're getting too formulaic, though. Like, so,
Yes.
for one, like the Christopher Nolan Batman movies were amazing, and I will fight you on that. Those were great.
Those were
weren't.
really good
those
movies.
were
I had some
great
issues.
stories with a superhero in it.
I
Still
had
not my
some-
favorite Batman, but
I had some fundamental
Batman
issues
movies.
with that trilogy, but
See,
yeah.
and like what I would fight is I think that the best part about any of those three movies was Heath Ledger. He was
Heath Ledger was great. I'll give
he
you
was a
that.
phenomenal bad guy.
I like Bane.
Michael Caine, bro.
Michael Caine. I liked Bane though.
Michael
Although I am upset, Bane was always like an Argentinian luchador, and he was Tom Hardy below Pines Field. But
And I love Tom Hardy, but that was not necessarily the right casting choice.
I loved him in that.
I didn't like Dark Knight Rises.
Oh,
that
it's
I
my
didn't
favorite one.
I hated the fight scenes; they were super lame.
They were. My biggest problem was in their canon. Bruce Wayne only wore the bats. He was only Batman like a handful of times.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
No, I like it better. I like the fact that Batman's sort of unstable because he's completely worn his emotions down to a nub by breaking his knuckles in on somebody's face every night.
Well, we didn't get to like the Frank Miller shit.
No,
That
I
would be
like
that Batman.
I
So-
like that. Well, that's why I liked Batfleck.
So for my money is that like one of the few comic book movies that I actually really liked and I thought was excellent was Sin City.
Sin City was.
I really like the first one.
What-
How
yeah.
disappointing was the second one?
The second one was bad.
Yeah.
It was really bad. But I will say this, and I totally agree with you. The first Sin City, because somebody like me that's a big comic nerd, I'm not just looking at how good your movie is, I'm looking at how true you stayed to the source material.
That's one of the most true to the material ones that there is.
See, like almost frame for frame. on
But good,
several of
because
those
also you can
stories.
read
Yeah.
some of those. Like, I mean, that's why the second one was pretty true to the story too. It's just it had been
Those
a
weren't
long
the
time.
best stories, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and then again, for me, it ties into like I think that those stories work best as cartoons. So, like, I think that the animated Batmans are better than the movie Batmans.
Agreed.
Just because
Same thing with X-Men, Spider-Man.
Like, if you're adapting a comic book, is like that whole kind of like realistic tinge of a live action movie. To me, completely destroys the fantasy because as cool as it might be, like I just cannot get over the fact of people running around in tights, like in a semi-realistic setting.
That
Like
was
I know it's
why-
exaggerated. I know that, but it is just so incongruous. Where if it's in a cartoon, I totally buy it. Or if it was so stylized like Sin City, I buy that.
Yeah.
but
Well,
I
that's
don't
why-
buy the middle ground.
Well, that's why, like,
Sorry.
you look at. I'm sorry, I'm trying to cut him off. So you look at like the first X-Men movie, and they actually make a joke about it.
I
Like,
was about
would
to
you?
say, the first two X-Men movies.
Yeah, we're
are
like,
kind
would
of
you
the
rather be in
exception.
yellow spandex? I'm like, yeah, just fucking lean in. Like, I'm fine if they lean in. And going back to the idea of B stories, like in B movies, like if you lean in and you make it a superhero movie, like I love that. One of the things I don't like, there are two things I don't like about current superhero movies. One is that like they're getting very, very formulaic. Like even like, you know, the latest Avengers movie, Spider, like any of the things that have come out in the past year or 2 years, like it's just the same movie, just with different characters. Like I remember when they announced the Netflix series, I thought they were actually going to make those like different. Like I think Luke Cage was actually supposed to be like a blaxploitation series, and like
Kind of was.
and
No, I mean that was like they did a nod to it.
a nod, but I thought that was going to be the whole
Daredevil
series.
was hyper realistic, which was wild.
Iron Fist was supposed to be like a straight up 70s kung fu story, and
they
I was like,
failed
yeah,
on
this
that
is
so
fantastic.
bad.
But then because Daredevil did so well, they're like, everything has to be the same.
Yeah.
And that's really disappointing.
However, the Punisher, that was the best on-screen representation of the Punisher I've ever seen.
Not true. Warzone was way better.
Warzone was great, but
That
I
was
felt like
straight.
it was,
That's the thing. That was straight B movie.
that was straight
made to be a
Frank
B
Miller, Marvel Max Punisher. Have you seen the Ray Stevenson Punisher?
No.
Isn't that the one with John Travolta? No, that's the one
That's
after.
the one
Right.
with Thomas Jane. That
Thomas
movie's
Jane
fun.
was-
It's fine.
It's fine.
The Ray
Thomas Jane is
Stevenson one was
weird.
never going to do well as a blockbuster because it's so goddamn brutal.
Yeah.
That's
Which
the one. That's
was-
the one where they like get like mauled and like on the beach, the whole fucking family.
No, that's the
No,
Thomas
that's the
Jane
first
one.
one.
Damn
Yeah. No, this one they actually it's the only time, even within concluding the Netflix series, it's the only time they get the Punisher's origin story completely right. Because for some reason they never do. Every time they put the Punisher on screen, they change his origin story up, and his origin story is so fucking simple and to the point that there's no reason to change it up, but they do it every fucking
Well, they
time.
fuck it up in the comics sometimes too, or they
Yeah.
fuck up this whole thing. Like right now, I think I'm reading the Cosmic Punisher,
Yeah.
which is Punisher from an alternate universe
In
fused
space.
with the powers of Galactus and Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider being my favorite fucking comic character ever.
Ghost Rider
Raising
is the
baby Thanos.
personified spirit of vengeance.
Okay.
And when you deal when you're talking Ghost Rider, you're talking a cult comics. Like
Oh, you're
straight
talking.
up.
There's so much stuff that they've done great with that character, and so
Yeah.
much they've done very, very
Even
poorly.
that shitty Agents of Shield show. Like I like it. It's fun. Like I'm not.
I didn't
thinking
get to
it's
the point where
amazing.
they introduced Ghost Rider.
That's the best season.
That I agree.
It was so fucking cool, and they did Ghost Rider so right.
I had a DVR loaded down with them, and then I moved to Pennsylvania and just
Lost
didn't
it.
have time.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't take the DVR
I thought
with
the
me. It
Amish
belonged
were
to
like,
cops.
no,
but-
Ghost Rider ain't wish.
No, actually, I think the Amish would have liked Ghost Rider. They're like, does he have a buggy of fire?
I mean, pretty much.
Well, the original one was a horse, so...
What I always thought was cool about Ghost Rider in the comics is that, first off, he was easily one of the most metal superheroes ever.
Yeah.
He was a fucking spiky biker with a flaming skull head, and whatever vehicle he inhabited turned into a demon ride. It was just badass.
And he was empowered by the devil fighting the devil. Like,
Exactly. Like the devil gave him his powers, and he decided to use those powers to fight the fucking devil. And it was pretty rad. And they cast Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider twice.
because Nicolas Cage loved Ghost Rider.
So
I mean, it's...
I love Katie
a
Morgan,
plus,
but I'm
but-
not going to put on a blonde wig and start fucking Evan Stone. It's not happening, dude.
Get this man a few more beers and we'll see what happens. Right?
It's a very calm Thursday night. Crank it up a notch. No, what I liked about
Do you like Katie Morgan because her voice is the total opposite of yours?
kinda.
Okay.
No, I actually like Katie Morgan because of that show she had. It was charming and sexy, and I could watch it with my girlfriend without her getting mad at me.
Wasn't it porn?
No, it was
I'm thinking of the
sexual education. She just happened to be naked.
Oh, okay. Still the HBO series, though.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But it was interesting to have legitimate sexual education taught to you by a very naked woman with very augmented breasts.
Have you noticed that, like, Jason and Craig are just staring at us like they have no idea what the fuck we're talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh,
I just-
okay. Just looking for a point to jump in.
Just
All right.
following along.
I was gonna make a joke about Katie Morgan, but then it
Moment
just
passed.
kept going. Yeah, and so I was like, just keep it shut.
I feel like I'm having a really hard time focusing on one subject for this podcast. So I'm just kind of like stream of
Yeah, we're just a
consciousness.
scatter
Yeah, no,
shot.
we-
We're hitting all of them.
We've hit everything, yeah.
So what do you guys want to talk about?
Let's talk about metal. What have you been listening to lately?
Actually, there's a couple. I just picked up Deathlehem. Have you heard of them?
Deathlehem is
Yeah.
badass.
They are wild ass, like almost power grind.
It's kind of fucking dumb. And
No, it's
that's
super
the point
dumb.
of it.
Yeah, but it's like way over the top. They dress like warlords and
It's it.
They have whole, like, campaigns.
Pittsburgh, I think. But
they're from Pennsylvania.
all of their albums are concept albums.
Okay.
I think
So they've
got
been around for a while.
Three
Three albums.
I'm pretty
missed
sure
this.
their whole gimmick is like they're like Templar Knights almost.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
basically have this crusade
Okay.
against evil going on.
Yeah.
So there's like three
They're good.
of that. I picked up Nita Strauss's album.
Now, how's that?
Really fucking good.
Yeah, she's a great guitar player.
She is, and the musicians that she chose to fill out the band on said album were good choices.
It's an instrumental album, right?
Yeah, for the most part. I think
Yeah.
there's lyrics on like one or two songs.
I listened to Static X Wisconsin Death Trip last night.
Jeez, man, that's
Not
a
for the
fucking
first time,
old school
but-
cut.
yeah.
Jesus.
Right.
Well, I've actually...
Shout out to 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, rest in peace, Wayne Static and Aquanet.
It was probably hair glue. But
I don't know what the fuck was going on there. That shit looked hard and pointy though.
Oh, if I could ever find a picture of me from that time, I was not at
Did you
Wayne
have
Static level. I had like hard ass spikes,
There it is.
like
Kill
straight up.
somebody. I just had like, yeah, I can picture you completely like that.
Well, I mean, I want to save this for a later podcast, but like, I feel like new metal gets a little bit of a hard rap.
I don't.
Hot take from Craig.
Like, Static X was fucking great. Weird.
I liked Static X, all right. I like, well, because okay, I have a question. Would you consider Hellbilly Deluxe a new metal album?
Yes,
That's a good album, though.
it is. I would actually like Deftones were really good. Slipknot. Okay, so here's the thing about me. Like, I listened to all this shit in the 2000s, and like almost every single person that I know that I was at like a Coal Chamber show with, and like
I will not lie. I know.
2001.
I was a Coal Chamber fan, and I owned more than one Slipknot shirt in my
Yep.
day back in the day. But
And
I can't-
everyone I know is like, oh, it was so fucking terrible. Oh, it was horrible. I swear to God, like jerk off at night listening to like wait and bleed still, probably. Like, I just can't say this in public. It's like fucking juggalos. Like, my entire high school is like, there's a collective memory gap where they're like, we just don't talk about those things.
Right?
See, I'm the guy that's like, yeah, man, abracadabra, boom, shakaday. I'm Violent J, and I'm back like a vertebrae. Like, I did an ICP thing for those guys. Make me laugh. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks.
I tried to see them live like 3 times and never succeeded. One time they went on tour. One time they went on tour with the WWE.
Yeah.
So they canceled the show. The second time, it was this weird thing. So the Cox Center in Oklahoma City had different. It was an arena, but it had different areas sectioned off. So we were supposed to be in like the exhibition center, and there was a hot air balloon exhibit in the foyer, and there was a hockey game in the main arena. And I showed up there, and there was just like sad juggalos like crying everywhere, and it was the most weird, confusing thing. I actually watched a dude like get arrested for trying to like break windows because he was so upset. But apparently, and like the cop was like, when the cop was trying to subdue him, he started yelling. He was like, "You want to know why they're not here? We didn't cancel them. They walked in, they looked at the room, and they said, 'This is too big,' and they left. They don't care about you. They don't give a shit about you. They left because they don't like you." And I was just like, I left a party for this, man.
Damn, though, the evil security guard breaking all those juggalos' dreams.
Right?
Yeah, and then the third one wasn't that. They canceled again.
So would you say that you're more of a struggalo?
Yeah. What I am is I wish I had to save some of those shirts to sell now.
Oh, man, dude, no, I had a fucking Riddlebox shirt that's probably worth cash right now.
Oh, I had a great Malenko shirt that probably would sell for bank in Austin.
That's fucking insane. No, I did, because my whole deal was I've always listened to metal, but really what I'm drawn to and everything is just dark imagery. And so for a time, like ICP really scratched an itch, because I got into ICP right when like fucking Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock got really huge. Like that was the big shit.
I listened to one of those.
I listened, you know what, man? I went back.
You've never had the same kind of disappointment that I've had, where you show up for the Summer Sanitarium tour. You end up missing System of a Down that opened. You have to sit through Power Man 5000. You have to sit through Korn with their microphones not working. There's other shitty bands in between there as well. And then it's Metallica, but because James Hetfield fucking died or whatever, it's Kid Rock singing all the goddamn songs. So you sit through a whole set of Kid Rock watching goddamn fat-ass hillbillies grind each other in the seats on some nacho cheese. And you're like, cool, I survived that. I'm going to see Metallica. This is going to be fucking great. And then, like, seat cushions start flying from the sky. It's 2 days after fucking the 4th of July. There are fireworks. It starts out great, because it's Serge Tankian singing Sanitarium with a lyric sheet in hand, and it's amazing. And then you get, like, a song where they make fun of Lars Ulrich because he can't keep up with a Korn song on drums. And then they're like...
Well, what cracked me up, because I was at that show, what cracked me up is that they attempted to do South of Heaven and then just had to stop by about the first chorus.
Yeah.
Because it just train wrecked.
Well, and then they get to the point where they're like, and Kid Rock is going to finish out the rest of the set, and I'm like, we're going home.
Wait, no,
I have to run across an interstate to get there because everything was stopped when I got here.
That was the Summer Sanitarium tour, sir. The Kid Rock, Limp Bizkit,
Power Man 5000.
No, I was at
System
that
of a
show
Down.
because I remember Kid Rock kept because they were playing Sad But True. And there's like a pause that he put in Sad But True, that because he ripped off Sad But True for American Badass. And there was like a pause that he put in, and he kept waiting for the pause. And Lars Ulrich was basically like, "Fuck you, jackass!" and just like would not play the pause. And I was like staring right at him while he was doing it. I was at that show. I was not coherent.
That was a really shitty show.
That was pretty bad.
It was hot. There were fireworks.
That is the
rednecks
fucking
grinding
funniest
and
hot
nacho
take
cheese.
I've ever heard about the Sanitarium tour, though. That was a great rant, Paul. Thank you for that.
You're
That
welcome.
late
fucking
90s,
died.
early 2000s was a bleak time for metal and
really
horror.
was.
I disagree. I would take that over most 80s metal.
I completely disagree with you.
I grew up in the hair metal area with my mom. Hair metal era with my mom listening to like the worst shitty glam metal. Like,
right. I would take that over Deftones.
I would take that over Deftones as well.
oh fuck you guys! I love Deftones.
Yeah,
Like,
it's all
actually,
good. It's all good. But yeah,
I actually read like so. I guess Noisy does a thing where they take someone in a band that used to be famous, and then they have them listen to an album that they should have listened to. So, I actually read a fucking Vice Noisy article about Laura Jane Grace from Against Me listening to White Pony for the first time, which seemed really fucking weird because I'm like, how you've never heard White Pony the album? This was like your era.
I want to tell you specifically why I hated White Pony.
White Pony was not my least favorite Deftones,
Right.
but definitely not my favorite.
So right before White Pony got released, like Maynard James Keenan just started jacking off all over the music industry. He could do no wrong. They did Lateralus.
He can do no wrong.
Oh,
still,
we're gonna fight.
except possibly
On the next episode.
right. Breaking chairs.
No, because they did Lateralus,
which was amazing and life changing.
I guess if you like Drop D.
Fuck yeah, I do.
And then he did Perfect Circle, which
was amazing. I saw them live,
no, dude, it was
multiple
just
times.
Tool.
Which is why it was amazing.
There you go.
And then he was like all over he did Passenger with the Deftones on,
Which
White
was
Pony.
amazing.
I guess what we fundamentally disagree on is that I think Maynard James Keenan is a massive fuckbag, and you love him as an artist.
Wait, no, he's a massive fuckbag as a person. I can still like him as an artist, though.
I guess I don't like him as either a person or an artist. But it's not. Fuck. Einema was good.
Yeah.
What was?
Einema. It was one of the mid '90s.
Undertow was great too, especially
Undertow
the
was
weird
all right.
fucking.
Opiate was.
Opiate was good.
Yeah.
It was
Let
really.
the rabbits eat carrots.
Yes.
I think it was really Lateralus
it
that
was the
fucking
Holocaust.
drove me nuts because also I had a roommate, right? And when Lateralus came out, that's all he listened to for like 3 fucking months.
Yeah, no, that was my junior year of high school, was going over to the same person's house that was just having a slow, drug-driven mental breakdown. Well, no, actually, so I also used to have this thing where I'd play video games like NWO, WCW, Revenge, like Tony Hawk, all this stuff. And if my friends started winning, I just would reach over to the CD player and hit play because I would have it on that intermission song and just do it on repeat for like 90 minutes because I'm that kind of torturous asshole.
I would have thrown my controller down and left your house.
Now I still do it to him when he comes down from Norman.
No, it's just there was, especially as a bass player, because when I was that age, I was trying to play everything I was listening to, right? And
That's
there's
why I
like-
like Cold Chamber. I could play one of their songs, and I can't play
that
for
makes sense.
shit.
No, I believe you. I totally believe
I
you.
saw
Big truck.
before I ever knew who Cold Chamber was or heard of him or anything like that. I saw him over for Megadeth, so I had no
That's
idea who
weird.
they
I
were.
want to see Megadeth.
So
Well, in the 90s.
went and saw them, and then they opened, and it was these kids wearing eyeliner and Jinko pants and stuff like that, and I was like, I just don't get it. And then they blew up, and I was like, I really don't get it, like. Which is fine. I mean, it's not all things are for all people, right? But that was definitely a market that was not targeted.
Did you
They
ever
were
see-
straight up Hot Topic metal. They really were.
Did you ever
That's
see
fine.
Mudvayne, though?
Oh,
yes.
I loved Mudvayne.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked a couple of their songs. But
Painted silver, long,
I'll tell you
probably
this,
extension, bearded,
What was
blue
they called their
beards.
bass player? Rhino? Was it their bass player's name?
I don't know.
The
Sure.
devil guy. He was a really fucking good bass player. He was a very percussive bass player, but very, very good. And not percussive in the way that Fieldy from Korn was, where it's like, just play drums, fucko.
Right.
Like, it's like, Jesus Christ, man. But I don't know. I guess that was my problem with new metal, is that as a bass player who doesn't slap really,
right.
what the fuck was I going to do with that entire genre of metal? Like nothing. There was nothing I could do.
Well, part of what I loved about okay, so I actually did want to steer this in a different direction slightly. I'm going to answer my question before I ask. I'm going to answer my question before I ask it. But the worst opening bands that you've ever seen.
Oh, dude.
One of mine is actually Avenged Sevenfold because so again the era that I was.
That.
I could see that.
Well, no, and
it's I've never seen them, but I could see that.
It's not even because they were bad. Actually, the band before them was worse. I'll get to that. But also when I was in the early to mid 2000s, I listened to a lot of kind of poppy punk, Rise Against Me, Anti-Flag, anything with an A in it.
I
apparently,
like Anti-Flag.
No, the new album fucking sucks.
I haven't. I'm talking.
as
I liked
expected.
Anti-Flag in 2000.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing happens. That's why I thought this Laura Jane Grace article was ridiculous because Against Me is not even relevant anymore, and they haven't been good since the second album. But there was a show. It was called The Green Door in Oklahoma City, and it was so it's
Agnostic Front and TSOL there.
Do what?
I saw Agnostic Front and TSOL there.
The new one or the old one? They're both gone.
Right.
Was it in the middle of downtown Oklahoma City or oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I grew up in Oklahoma.
Oh, I also didn't know that.
Yeah. So
We got
We'll
two
follow up
Okies
with
here,
that.
Jason. We
Right.
have failed.
I grew up in Oklahoma, and it was in a punk metal band in Oklahoma.
This will be the last episode of Warlord Radio.
Right,
We're gonna
right.
get some
Yeah.
fucking Okies on.
This is our
So
final
many
sign off.
Okies.
Sorry.
We'll start.
I moved.
We'll start
Yeah.
Oaklord Radio.
But yeah, no, I went to the Green Door totally.
Yeah,
Back when it was a terrible, dirty, sweaty, overcrowded punk venue.
Oh,
It's cool.
The one that was not in downtown Oklahoma City, that was at the far north end. It changed hands 3 times and that bathroom got worse and worse and worse. But anyway, the one in downtown for as long as it lived, I went to a show and they had 7 bands, and I was not expecting 7 bands, but the headliners were Rise Against Me. I think the Epoxies played. There was a band called the Mean Reds, which was just a weird Arizona screaming noise. The lead singer took a bunch of pills on stage as performance art, that kind of band.
Right.
But so you get all the way down to band number 7. It was a band called Open Fist, and they were just fucking lame and terrible.
Isn't an open fist just a hand?
Right.
I wondered that too. They tried to do the Maynard James Keenan thing though, where we're all gonna face with our back, which is They tried doing that.
I hate that.
But then they also they fucking called it though. They called their shot too loud because they were we're gonna turn around in 7 seconds. Ready, guys? 7. You get the rest of the thing, and then they did that, and then Avenged Sevenfold played, and then a bunch of other bands played.
Interesting.
It was great when Avenged, and I got
so you watched this pile of horrible bands and Avenged Sevenfold was still the worst thing?
No, actually, Open Fist was. This is, I guess, I phrased this whole thing wrong because it was fucking funny because I got autographs and everything because after Open Fist, they sounded pretty good. I think they had the original guitarist that killed himself later. It was fine.
Damn, Paul. Shout out to the Avenged Sevenfold guitar player that probably killed himself.
I'm just waiting for M. Night or M. Dark or whatever the fuck his name is to show up at my door and be like, did you talk shit about our guitar player?
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was funny when they got big later though, because they're I remember KJ 103, which was the Britney Spears channel, was they started playing them for the first time ever in Oklahoma City, Avenged Sevenfold. I'm I have pictures, I have autographs, I can prove that this is a lie. They were here. They were the 6th of 7 bands, or the 2nd of 7th bands.
Right. Crazy.
Who the fuck was headlining that show?
Rise Against, I think.
Ugh.
Rise Against was fucking great.
Okay, buddy.
Well, the first time I saw them too, I don't know why I have a leather pouch in front of me, but you have it in your face now.
Right.
The first time I saw them, though, I was who is this weird, scrawny, fucking hipster guy? I was oh, you sound much louder in real life. Okay.
I don't know, man. So new metal happened. I didn't like new metal. And then emo happened. And I really fucking didn't like emo, dude. Emo did nothing for me. That entire genre of music. And I'm sorry if you were out there and you're an emo kid, God bless you. Wipe up the blood when you cut yourself. Somebody has to cut
Have you heard Day 4 from Denton though?
No, dude, I don't fucking listen to emo.
They're a pretty fucking good emo band.
I guess.
And I guess they did like a split with another band. It's like 2000s indie emo. It's actually it's like screamo. It's 2000s indie scream. It's
No, my
fucking
deal
Denton.
with
You have to
screamo-
blend at least 3 different genres
My
together.
deal with screamo is like, because I'll listen to a screamo band, but you've got to be really fucking good. You know what I mean? Like, and you got to be like, I can't. You have to be so good. I can't even think of an example right now.
Like, what is it? A Day to Remember? There were a couple of actually really good, like more technical death metal, like screamo bands back in the 2000s.
Travis
They were
Martin
pretty
was
good.
here. He could tell me because Travis Martin's got he's got good taste in emo. As weird as that sounds,
Oxymoron.
yeah, a bit of an oxymoron.
Well, this is the thing I like. This is the thing I like about
Shout out to
Denton.
Travis.
As I show up back when we had the Abbey Underground, I'd show up and find a rap ska band or just like weird.
I would rather listen
combinations
to
of
rap
shit.
ska than emo.
You weren't there at the time. You were probably playing the show. You just weren't there at the time.
Probably.
It's just like, oh, what the fuck is this? Or anytime I go to like backyard where it's like, so it's psychedelic and God knows what the and is.
Right.
Like this seems to be like a very Denton thing of like, we're gonna be new metal garage punk, and I'm like, what the fuck even it? Oh, that's what that is. And it's either like that's exactly what I thought. That's fine.
Or you missed the mark completely.
Or I'm like, let's go outside for a cigarette because this is fucking horrible.
All right, we've got to wrap it up. We're reaching the end of our time, so I would like to ask you, Paul, as our guest, as we loosely talked about horror films.
What the fuck did we talk about?
I think we
kinda-
did.
Everything.
Yeah, we just we went all around the world.
We were just kind of shooting the shit. Give me one movie that you've seen in the last, let's say, month that you really recommend everybody check out.
A Dark Song.
A Dark Song. Give me a synopsis.
Netflix, Dead
I love
Child.
how Netflix is just a synopsis now. It's on Netflix. Fucking watch it.
It's on Netflix. It's about a woman trying to contact her child through magic that is actually... The magic in it is actually based on Kabbalah.
Okay.
So apparently it's magically sound and
That's one.
delicious.
Well, no. In occult practices, the Kabbalah, it is believed that all occult practices are based off either Taoism, Kabbalah, or shamanism.
Well, damn it. Okay, real quickly then. I wanted to talk about Baskin, which was a Turkish horror film.
Yes.
Which is part of the whole point.
It's
And, like,
excellent.
Okay.
Well, I didn't
because I
realize-
haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
well, it's great because one of the things I like about international horror is that like you get to get different versions of hell and different views of the devil and everything. And it's one of those movies like I like having to go to Google the ends of movies or like parts of movies. I actually like doing that. That's a lot of fun for me. And this one in particular, like there's some stuff there are a lot of frogs in it. And I don't know why. I tried Googling Turkish frogs. That didn't go well for me.
Right.
But like apparently the whole movie is based on like Zoroastrianism or Zoroastrianism. And like that's a religion I've never really experienced at all. I don't know why I started talking about this.
No, it's fascinating.
Other than I was going to talk about this.
Another thing that I really like, or I find intriguing about foreign horror movies, is the concept of foreign rednecks.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, to me, that is just it seems like
Well, they're
very
always
interesting and repulsive and alluring at the same time. Because I know that you recently saw Frontiers, and I know you weren't a big fan of it. But one of the things I really liked about it is that it presents the idea of French rednecks, and I'm like, interesting.
There are hill folk in every
Yeah,
civilization.
absolutely.
man.
But it's just, as Americans, we get used to our cliched version of hillbilly rednecks, right?
Yeah.
So it's really weird to
they-
see that from a different cultural perspective.
well, the whole and they are Nazis is like kind
Yes.
of a cultural universal in Europe.
Yeah.
And I think I've even seen a couple of films where like the Nazis have like Confederate flags on
If
their
you
cars. and
think
stuff, and I'm
about
like,
it, though, that makes a lot of sense because in America, typically our hillbilly movies, these guys are always really super religious based. They're like zealots almost.
yeah,
And over there, it's a lot of Nazism. And what it is it's like the hillbillies would either be people that were born to that culture or escaped regular culture, or were pushed out of regular culture because their beliefs or whatever were too extreme.
or were abducted.
Or were abducted because you got to have
usually
new blood.
abducted.
You can't just keep fucking your cousin. You have to fuck somebody else eventually. And on that note, I would like to say thank you for listening to Warlord Radio Podcast with our good friend Dr. Paul Bones.
Thanks, sir, for coming back.
Fuck your dicks.
Yes.